Hey, my name is Luigi, and this is where I'll be documenting my capstone and my progress. As of now, my plan is to build stuff with the Arduino and this kit, and learn specifically the C++ programming language because that's what the Arduino uses. Since basically everything that I was working with in this project was new to me, I had to teach myself how to use all of it. First, I began with the Arduino. In its website, it has these tutorials that you can follow to build stuff with the parts that it comes with. So I began with these LEDs and then slowly progressed into more complicated things. My next step was to learn the C++ programming language, which I found a course on Codecademy, which was free. But I knew from the beginning that it was very unrealistic to think that I'd be able to use the code that I learned in my builds. While I progressed through the course, this proved to be true, since I met many difficulties trying to learn this code. But nonetheless, I still finished it and was ready to continue, where I'd be using ChatGPT to help me out. I've had many ideas for projects to make with the Arduino, but one that I've had in mind for a very long time is some sort of sound sensor that would trigger this light switch somehow and turn on my fan light up there. And I want to do this with, of course, a sound sensor that comes with the kit, and something called a servo motor that has these two little arms that I plan to probably extend in some way and make them flip back and forth and hit the light switch. Another one of my ideas would involve the same objective, which would be to turn on this light switch, but instead of a sound sensor, I would use this ultrasonic sensor, which would detect my proximity, so how close I am to it. So I probably put it somewhere back here so that when I walk in and walk out, it can activate this servo motor that would move these two little arms. Unfortunately, while I was testing out how the sound sensor works, I broke it, so that meant that I would have to start with the ultrasonic sensor. That was fine, since later on I went to Time Anson's house to resolder it, since I don't own the equipment and I'm not about to buy it just for that. Now that I had tested everything out, it was time to start building. This was the setup that I came up with, but I was already having a couple of problems. The servo motor was too close to the light switch, so that meant it required too much torque to press the light switch, so I had to add a little background to push it up. But then when I started testing, I realized that my battery was kind of dying, so the servo wasn't getting enough power. So when I plugged it into my laptop, then it worked better. But it still wasn't strong enough on its own. The amount of tape that I had was not enough. So I added this little metal piece here along with some more tape and developed a new setup. Now the servo was able to turn the light off, but not on, because my light switch was kind of broken. My dad tried removing it, but that didn't work either. I really wanted this to work since I knew the light switch was the only problem, so I moved it to my hallway with a really long cable. And finally, it worked. Now it was time for my second project with the sound sensor. At first, it wasn't really working. So then I started messing around a bit with the sensitivity, to the point where it started working a little bit too well. It got to the point where the sound of the switch flipping was causing a chain reaction because of how loud it was. But hey, at least my LCD display was working. I wanted this to work a bit more consistently, so I asked ChatGPT. But this also didn't work too well since the claps had to be really close for it to register. I wanted to do a third project that didn't involve my light switch and that was more portable. So after damaging the wall a little bit, I got ready with my new equipment. My plan was now to build a 3-wheeled car powered by one motor that had an ultrasonic sensor on the front. I found this really dense piece of cardboard that I added some measurements to and then started cutting to make space for my wheel. I then created this wheel out of Lego and this random piece I found in the Arduino kit. After that, I sanded down the cardboard a bit and added the wheel with the motor. I then created this triangular shape out of cardboard to add my other components. And after adding these Lego support wheels, I gave it a test drive. Now after hot gluing the Arduino and the breadboard on, all that was left was the sensor. At this point, I thought I was almost done the build, but it turns out I was wrong. I ended up having to buy AA batteries and a battery pack, a motor driver, and a stronger motor. Now I had to fit the new motor axle into my wheel. So after some very safe actions with fire and a nail, it worked. After finding a place for everything else to go, the ultrasonic sensor and the motor were now the last thing. But now I needed to solder wires to these tiny motor connectors, so I went back to Time Anson's house. Despite its weight, it actually ran pretty well. After a whole lot of wiring and coding, Bingus was finally complete, concluding my capstone projects.